excited to talk to you today a little bit about Hilton's wellness strategy. Um, and really, why I'm here to talk to you about this is because I think there's some really interesting takeaways. We'd like to talk about certainly why it matters to us, but hopefully by talking about why it matters to us, we can also share what lessons you can take away and perhaps apply to your own businesses. So a little grounding first. Hilton is of course, an international company. We've got about 7,500 plus properties worldwide. About half of those, or about half that quantity also in our pipeline. 1.2 million guest rooms and counting, and 123 countries and territories, all across 22 brands, right? So it's a very big international company. So very interesting, for those of us that have been in the industry for a very long time, is why now, right? We know that there's a lot of reasons that wellness matters to consumers, but it matters more than ever before to a lot of companies, not just within hospitality. So I want to share with you what, from a macro standpoint, right, the global trends meant that we were interested in this as a company. And then we'll drill down a few different levels just to show you how we got to the strategy that we did and why. So first off, probably not surprising to those of you in the room, consumers care about wellness, right? And it's not just hospitality, it's not just traditional industries associated with a wellness economy. It's all brands, all walks of life that care about this. And in fact, 75% of consumers across all industries want brands to engage with them, brands they know and love, to engage with them on their wellness journey. And that's not just younger demographics, right? That's not just Gen X and Gen Z and millennials. It's all demographics. What that looks like within each generation may be a bit different, but it really matters to all. And the global wellness economy is growing precipitously, 8.6% versus GDP, which is 5.1, right? So what that tells us is this is a rapidly moving industry. So that's the good news. But the unique opportunity that this provides is that as the industry grows, right, there's a lot of different segments of the industry, right? So it's getting increasingly bifurcated. But it also means the wellness consumer, yes, is more interested, but they're more demanding, they're more savvy. So there's lots more for us to do to meet those needs. So when we double click on the macro trends and think about what does it mean for us? So why now? We have our own data that tells us that our Hilton consumers care. We do, in the last 2 years, we've done 2 trends reports, which have turned up major wellness themes for us. So this year, our trends report, which is available, you Google Hilton Hilton Trends Reports, you'll find both of these. We know that the number one reason that people are traveling in 2024 is to rest and recharge, right? That is such a huge point of intersection with wellness, of course. And then half of travelers, this was from last year, say they're seeking travel experiences that align with their wellness goals, right? So both of those things tell us that consumers, not just in luxury, not just in our lifestyle brands or full service brands even, all travelers across all categories are interested. The other interesting stat that we've seen recently is a little bit more granular. So when we look at how guests find hotels, right? So using the search bar on our website, Hilton.com website, they're often ticking the spa box to make sure that the hotel that they find, or hotels that they're searching, have spas located on the property. And that number is up 36% year over year, right? Even since last year, there's been growth here. So there's a huge interest in engaging with wellness when people come on property. There's some interesting stats. These are not ours, this is from American Express, but saying that 88% of travelers want to have some wellness intersection with their travel, and 60+% of Gen Zs and millennials will go out of their way to engage with wellness in travel, right? Whether it's booking or once they're on property. So what that tells us is that there's more than ever before, not only an opportunity, but a need for hospitality companies to engage from a wellness standpoint. So let's click down one more level. And then I promise I'll share what our strategy is. Spa and fitness, right? So this is the way in which hospitality has traditionally engaged with consumers for quite some time. And Hilton is indeed one of the largest spa operators in the world. And every single one of our properties, with a few minor exceptions, across all 22 brands in 126 countries, all of them have fitness centers, right? So we are in the spa and fitness business for sure. And that's not going to change. And I think the important thing that I can mention here, and the reason I'm sharing this, yes, of course, I'm proud of those statistics, but it's also important to say that spa can't get left behind as we think about the expansion of wellness. It's an enormous piece of why people come to us. It's a fantastic way to engage with people on their wellness needs. And as we expand the remit of wellness within our portfolio, within our strategy, we will continue to build on these areas, not forget them. So what does it actually mean? Where are we headed? So we took a step back as we were considering this, right? I've been with Hilton about a year. One of the first things that I helped the team do was say, okay, we know generally where we want to go, but let's make sure it feels like Hilton. Let's make sure we're not following just because, maybe competitors or the industry are demanding it. We stopped and we said, okay, we know who we are at Hilton. We're in the business of people serving people. We know that anything we put out to our guests, especially at the enterprise level, needs to be reliable, needs to be friendly, it needs to feel like us. So how that ended up being interpreted was saying, okay, whatever we do from a wellness standpoint, we want to democratize it, right? We want to pull it through all of our 22 brands, not just luxury, not even just full service, all the way down through every hotel and every market and every of our 22 brands. And we want to do it in a way that doesn't tell people how to be well. It meets their needs wherever they are in their wellness journey. So what that looked like in practicality was, continuing to work in areas that we were familiar and we were already expert in, spa and fitness, but really figuring out how we turn up the volume in terms of sleep, nourishment, and mindfulness, right? Those areas were additional areas we felt we could, with expertise, deliver programming, partnerships, ways for our guests to engage across their entire stay experience, every hotel they walk through the door. And trying to understand who we were in delivering wellness, it's also important for us to know who we aren't. And a lot of that, again, comes through the wellness of understanding not necessarily just what wellness means, but right, who are we and how do we overlay that on this idea of a wellness strategy? And what that's meant, right? We said we wanted to democratize. We wanted to bring this through all of our 22 brands across every country. That means that we couldn't be overly trendy, right? It's really, really hard to course correct or disengage from a strategy at that level of scale. So we want to make sure that whatever we implement has staying power, but has also got a vision into the future. But we also don't want to do that, right? We don't want to be overly trendy because we feel it's a very important thing for our guests to know we'll be authentic about anything that we put into our hotels. And the truth of the matter is, when we're thinking about pulling wellness outside the demise of spa and fitness, it's innately more complex, right? As we start thinking about pulling it into guest rooms or to food and beverage, right? Those are entirely different teams. There's a lot of different people involved, and that's the beauty of it. That's the point. But we need to make sure that we're very clear on the things that are our priorities. The other really important thing to us was, again, that we're meeting people where they are. And what that means on its flip side, in terms of saying what we aren't going to do, is we don't want to preach to people about how to be well. And I say this with all generosity, right? There are a lot of brands that people come to trying to learn more about wellness. And I think we will be able to do that in some respect. But more than anything, particularly at the scale that we're at, when we're talking about, again, moving it through all 22 brands, it was important for us to take a step back and say, we need to be educated enough to know what needs are, but not necessarily what to do, right? That we're meeting people where they are. So all of that said, hopefully interesting, but let me try and sort of decode what this means for you as perhaps operators or strategists or consultants. First of all, do your research. As I mentioned, there's really 3 levels that we clicked through to understand the business before we got anywhere close to arriving at a strategy. Understanding strengths and understanding values, right? Understanding who you are as a company to interpret whatever you see as the white space, right? What do you think are the opportunities that could be leveraged that could allow you to stand apart from your competitive set? The thing that I think all that's pretty straightforward, right? I think everybody would sort of head nod at that and say, yep, we get it. I think the other piece that feels obvious but often gets forgotten is not to lose focus on what you're already good at. What are you already known for? Make sure you don't lose track of this, right? We said this in terms of both of our spa and fitness programming. Build off those strengths. Find ways to leverage those for whatever you plan to do. And then the next piece, again, seems pretty straightforward, but is often where things get lost, right? Consider the strategy of not just building strategy, but delivering strategy, the implementation. And not just implementation, consistency, right? That every guest that walks through your door can see what you're doing, that it lands, that you thought through. What might seem very straightforward is often very complex to deliver, especially at scale. And then finally, whatever you do, if you've put a lot of effort in, if you've made changes, if you want consumers to see these changes, there's no replacement for making sure that you've got a very clear communication and marketing strategy to make sure that those messages, those changes, those unique selling propositions find their way to market and feel visible to your consumers. So I hope that's helped. I hope that contextualized a little bit about what we're doing, why it might matter to you. I'm very eager to hear from my peers on stage. Thank you.
And so today, my main goal is for all of us to be able to think outside of the box. And when I say box, I mean to think outside of the treatment rooms, but also outside of our bricks and mortar of our buildings. And I know that not all of you are obviously operators or owners, but there is one thing as we go into this that I just wanted to clarify. I think if we have a bricks and mortar building and business, we all have spa treatments. We all have retail that supports that. So that's sort of the baseline, whether you're an urban spa, whether you're a hotel. And so I want to talk a little bit about all the different options that are on the table. So some of this just relates to day spas, because I think day spas actually have a tremendous amount of opportunity for growth, is really to think about pop-up events, and not just the pop-up events that we probably, or some of you probably already do with your vendors around skincare, but to really reach out beyond into your community and think of ways that you can do more pop-ups. I was just reading about museums now looking for more and more companies to come in and do different things. So to think outside of the actual building that you're in. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of partnerships. What I love about partnerships is, you know, at the end of the day, I think about the Mayo Clinic wanting to partner with Chick-fil-A, for those of you who know that brand. Just an unusual connection, right? But just different types of partnerships. And partnerships, if you are a day spa, there isn't any reason why you can't partner with a yoga studio or a nutrition facility or with a university, just to continue to think bigger than what we've normally thought about. Activities, programs, and classes have typically been more for resort spas, but I think the day spas can do that too. When I think about art and music and festivals, you know, there's a lot that day spas can do, whether it's renting out space somewhere or in a public park, but again, to think bigger. Food and beverage, obviously, if you're a day spa, it's kind of difficult. You don't necessarily have a kitchen. But when I think about now, supplements and powders and serums, there's so much happening. And a lot of those things are grab and go. And so being able to potentially, depending on how big your day spa is, you could actually have someone come in and speak on it, but they make a great retail opportunity as well. And then just thinking about celebration, right? Being able to bring your members, if you do have members, to bring them out and be able to do different things actually in the community at some of the local restaurants. Now we're going to move a little bit more into touchless wellness, which I keep hearing a lot about, so happy about that. Now, touchless wellness can obviously be in a day spa. I mean, I was talking to a group of estheticians that are about to graduate from a university in Canada. And I said, you can implement compression and percussion instruments. There's a lot you can do, right? Saves your body, adds value, whether it's added into a facial or a massage. But for this, I'm talking about touchless wellness from a different standpoint as well for resorts. The photo in the right is a red light booth that has halotherapy. It has oxygen. If you have a treatment room potentially that isn't using, it's not utilized as much as it could, you could put it in there. And then the bottom one is one of my favorite. Just to be able to, obviously, if you're renovating or it's a new build, is thinking about immersive experiences. Now, I know that some of these things are expensive, but the ROI can be considerable because at the end of the day, you can get groups to come in. And I know there's been a theme already with some of the talks that we've heard about the fact that we need to be moving away from depending on the revenue that we're getting from massage because there's a global shortage, right? There's a lot of different reasons. The next piece is really about fitness and sports recovery. There's so much happening. And we all know, yes, of course, hyperbaric chambers and cryotherapy. But if you're a day spa, can you create a membership, right, where they can go to a local franchise or a business that does that? Because the sum of the parts of these individual companies, when they come together, is much greater. And then the bottom is a company that is more cognitive fitness. And just thinking about things that take not a lot of space, because obviously space can be really confining, but looking at all of the new technology that is coming out even in fitness. I'm a huge fan of contrast bathing, and many people think the contrast bathing has to be that you have cryotherapy and you have to have a finished sauna, but I'll show you an example in a moment about a case study where it doesn't have to look like that. But we all know that contrast bathing, all of the different types of health benefits, and what I love about it is it can be very social. And the more social we create experiences, the less labor costs that we have. And then the last example is really for those of us in the room that have hotels. And besides light mitigation, sound mitigation, a lot of the different things that we can do in the physical environment of the room, we can also have a different type of bed. I even recently saw a pillow that's an AI pillow that moves your head in case you're starting to snore in the middle of the night. So there's so much coming out around technology that can support sleep. And then I also added a fitness cart because not every property has a spa. So all of this is really great. And again, we're thinking outside of the treatment room and outside of your actual building. So I want to quickly go through some case studies. I have incredible clients that actually agreed to show not just percentages, because although percentages are great, they were willing to actually show their numbers. So before we go into each one, I just wanted to show that spas at the bottom, and then when they added wellness, how it created not only more top-line revenue, but also equally as important, if not more so, is how it dropped to the bottom line. So we're going to go case by case. The first one is a day spa. This is a woman that's had several day spas, and she wanted to create a members club. And she wanted, and you can see if you look at the floor plan, the green in the center is all about social. So she has members that come in. They're open at different times of the day. They do a lot of different events. The little green spot on the left is actually all recovery chairs where they do IV. They rent out the space. They have education classes. And then the green space on the right is actually a bar, where it's an oxygen bar. They do different types of IVs there as well, and they have alcohol as well. Hey, it's part of wellness. Anyway, so I just wanted to show the lounge, some of the educational things that they've done, and then the very top left is really basically, it's a hot bathing experience with a cold plunge. And so she's been able to integrate into only, I guess it's about 500 square meters. She's been able to integrate a lot. So let's just look at what happens. So on the on the left is her spa. This is what she was doing before she decided to bring more wellness in. To make it easy, I just wanted to show all the revenue that started to come in from being able to add more wellness. And the interesting thing, as we've been talking about and we've been hearing, is what it does to the NOI. So she went from 17% to 24%. But obviously also you can look at the fact that there's tremendous more revenue, top-line revenue as well. And obviously salaries and benefits is a big part of what was able to be reduced. The next one is a property that I know Jean-Guy knows as well. Family owned. They own a lot of properties in all the hospitals in Peru. And they came to me and said, we're not making any money. We don't know what to do with our spa. We can't compete with Machu Picchu. We're in the Sacred Valley. We don't know what to do. And I went, okay, you can't compete with Machu Picchu, right? It's one of the world's wonders. But you can create packages where people come and are able to acclimate to the altitude, prepare to go up Machu Picchu, and then obviously come back and be able to recover from their experience. And so by doing that, we were able to, again, add a lot more wellness, a lot more things that are recovery-focused, touchless wellness, that actually really support the guest before they go up to Machu Picchu and when they come back. And as you can see here, their NOI was only 7%, not doing well. And so we were able to get it up to 25%. The other thing is really extraordinary is to see how much more revenue they were able to create. And so now all of a sudden we have a really successful resort. And then the very last, they would not allow me to use their name, but this is an urban hotel. It's historic. It's in a mid-sized city in the US. And it's built in an area where there's a lot of residential, there's not a lot of competition when it comes to spas, and they wanted to do something really iconic and different. And so we basically decided to do a bathhouse, and an extraordinary bathhouse. It's going to drive membership, it's going to drive a lot of a la carte revenue, and so you can see that it's quite drastic what we've been able to create. And again, they had a great NOI at 30%. But if you look at the fact that it was only $500,000 worth of revenue, you're able to look at the fact that 43% NOI based on $6 million in revenue is really quite extraordinary. So my message is that we all get to think out of the box and think about what we can do. And I'm not saying that treatments aren't really important, but the reality of it is we can't necessarily depend on what we used to for that. So thank you.
So happy to see so many familiar faces after so long, and a lot of new faces too. So let me just start before we get into Siro, okay? So as Jean-Guy said, I started 20 years ago in the industry as a therapist, and at the time I went in with the know-how in the sense of I wanted to help people, and that's why I became a therapist. And I also wanted to travel. So I went out to Miami at 18. I didn't really have a clue what was going on. I turned up to a big cruise ship, 5,000 people, and let's say the rest is history. And then I was very lucky and very fortunate. I turned to Dubai, where I was headhunted to open Atlantis the Palm. And then really I started to understand what wellness was and the possibilities. So today you're going to hear a lot of numbers, facts, figures, which are obviously very important. But what I want to showcase today is the possibilities and what you can actually do in the world of wellness. So for people who don't know Kerzner, we are a hospitality company. We are typically known for ultra-luxury resorts, large-scale properties like Atlantis. But like most hotel companies, we are not typically known for wellness. However, that all changed recently, where we were bold, we were daring, we stepped out of our comfort zone, and we created a hotel brand that is based purely on fitness and recovery. And a couple of weeks ago, we opened Siro Wellness, the first fitness and recovery hotel in Dubai, and the first Siro in the world. And for Kerzner, it really was the direct response to the fact that consumers are changing. Consumers are prioritizing their health, their fitness, and they're no longer willing to sacrifice their healthy lifestyles and their routines when they're traveling or when they're booking a hotel. So for Kerzner, Siro was the direct response to that new normal. Of course, as a luxury hospitality group, this is very out of our comfort zone to what we normally do. Typically, we build gyms where they're beautiful in design, the latest equipment, but they're essentially treated as an amenity to tick a box and to be 5-star. So I'm very excited to present Siro, so we're just going to start with a short video.
Self-care is everything. But no one says it's easy. We're here to cheer you on. To train. Recover. And grow together. Fitness and recovery has a new home. More than a hotel. This is a movement. Siro.
So I get very emotional watching that video. It's been quite the 2 years in creating Siro. So as I said, it really is a world's first in terms of fitness and recovery. Now, a lot of people are asking, what does Siro actually stand for? What does it mean? So we want to unlock and maintain your mental and physical performance. And how we do that is we focus on Siro, which stands for strength, inclusivity, recovery, and originality. And how we do this, we created a fully immersive 360 degrees experience. So it's not just about the spa, it's not just about the gym, it's an all-encompassing experience throughout the entire hotel. So what we had to do, we had to look at this and sense, well, how are we going to do this? So we created 5 pillars: fitness, nutrition, sleep, recovery, and mindfulness. Now, there's a lot of information here, so I'll try and keep you up to speed. But with the fitness, so we created the fitness lab, where essentially you can come and train strength, cardio, you can participate in one of 50 of our weekly classes. Then you have nutrition. Now, nutrition, it's a big topic in the hospitality space where we try and put ourselves into a certain window. Now, we have an amazing nutritionist, Harel, at Wanzabil, and of course she does all the diagnostics where you can do glucose testing, you can do intolerance testing, gut health, and she can personalize meal plans and programs for you during your stay. But also as well, Siro is not just for fitness enthusiasts. Siro is for leisure guests. Siro is for business travelers who are looking to have an amazing night's sleep and have some healthy food. So when it comes to the nutrition piece, the idea is it's healthy, nutritious, wholesome food that tastes great and look great. We're not putting ourselves into the fact, oh, it needs to be plant-based, it needs to be keto-based, etc. Now, of course, if you want to do that, we can cater for that. But it is about enjoying your food. So then comes the hot topic of alcohol. We do serve alcohol. But what we've also done is we've created a full mixology program where you can have low to no alcohol, or you can have cocktails which contain less sugar. So that it's all about choice and options for your guests and for your members. Because of course, for everyone here, fitness means different things to different people. So like Jean-Guy said, I'm a little bit crazy and I participate in crazy events all over the world. But of course, that's not for everyone. Wellness is for everybody. And this is something when I joined 2 years ago, I saw Siro, it was a name, and we had an amazing marketing deck done by, creative marketing people. It was cool, it was sexy, and that was it. So we really had to go to the basics and say, okay, fitness is not just for athletes. You can be somebody just starting out on your fitness journey. You can be a mother who's just had children and wants to get back into fitness. So we really had to make this model adaptable to the wider audience. Sleep. Now, this is where the hotel rooms come into play. Of course, these rooms, a lot of people are saying, oh my God, they're so cool, they're so sexy, they look amazing. But everything we did in this room was to create the ultimate sleep experience. So we actually worked with a lady called Anna West, where we put this together. So for example, the mattress is based on thermoregulation so that you're not too hot or you're not too cold, which is actually one of the main reasons why people can't sleep. We created a recovery wardrobe where you open it, you've got your foam roller, your stretch bands, and you can participate in recovery videos on the virtual screen. We decided not to do a TV, we did a projector. We have AC, but then we also put in a fan because it's a lot healthier, it's less drying for the nose and throat. We put in amenities that are not only good for you, they are also good for the planet. So everything in this room tells a story and educates the guest on what this room can do. Of course, recovery. In this day and age, we're all full pace, heavy to the metal, go, go, go. And I think for a long time, we focused a lot on the fitness and not enough on the recovery. And then, of course, mindfulness. Performance, how we live, it's not just about the physicalities. We really have to mentally think about what we're doing. So we created different workshops, mindfulness, meditation, breath work, where we essentially can educate our guests. So how is this all possible? We are a company that's using a lot of technology. Of course, when you look at biohacking, it's about taking science and technology, combining them so you can perform at your best. So we actually went one step further as a hospitality company, and we created an app, which was very scary, by the way. And this app allows a seamless guest service journey for our guests and members. There'll be many phases to this app, but at the moment you can book your hotel stay, you can check in, book classes, speak to the coaches, etc. Education, of course, this is at the core at what all of you do here in this room. We have to educate. So we created something called The Collective, which is a social hub where we will host weekly, monthly, and quarterly activations with community and international speakers from all over the world, where we can talk about why you should be training, why you should be recovering, and educating them. Destination, of course, fitness for a lot of people extends beyond the hotel walls, beyond the gym. So we really want to unlock destinations so that guests and members can participate in a variety of classes and experiences all across Dubai. So from paddle, tennis, running, swimming, we've created these partnerships. And of course, then two key topics: sustainability. Now, this will be at the core of Siro, and we're really working on how we build, what materials we're using, waste management, water reduction. But I think overall, this is something that our hospitality really needs to push further and really needs to drive forward. And of course, people. None of us would be here today if it wasn't for mentors, peers who have really got us to this point. And I've been very, very lucky. I've worked with some amazing people over the years, and some of them are here today. But it really does come down to people. If you go to a gym, you can have the best facilities, world-class facilities. But if you don't have the people, if you don't have the master trainers, if you don't have the nutritionists, the recovery therapists, essentially this is why people are coming to our hotels and to our gyms through our people. So of course, how did we do this in the last 2 years? So we created Team Siro. It's a collective of athletes and experts from all around the world. And what we did is we really leveraged their expertise. We tapped into their medical teams, their nutritionists, their physiotherapists, and we created this 360-degree experience. And this is the feedback that we've been receiving when people come and stay in the hotel, when they come to the club. You know, normally, especially, for example, in Dubai, you go somewhere for your physiotherapy, you go somewhere for your class, you move around. Essentially, Siro, it's so that everything is within one hotel and one club. So, of course, the end result, I'm very proud of what we created in Siro One Zabeel, and obviously all the facilities, and they are extensive. But just to put this into perspective, Siro will be the main revenue generation for Kerzner. And what that looks like, we have ambitious goals where we plan to open 100 Siro hotels in the world. And to put that into context, Siro One Zabeel has just opened 2 weeks ago. And just for the fitness and recovery part alone, their goal for year one is $3 million and 1,000 members. And I can happily say we opened 2 weeks ago, and within 10 days, we have 150 members just for the gym. And the hotel achieved in its second week of opening 85% occupancy after week 2. Thank you. So really, as you can see, wellness really is an all-encompassing 360-degree experience that really involves so many layers. And for Kerzner, we're very proud to have created this concept, and we look forward to opening many more Siros. Thank you.
So, here it is, the gorgeous Lucknam Park. 500 acres of beautiful grounds, an impressive spa, horses, deer, just stunning. I see this image most days. I'm a very lucky girl. Now, can you believe that over 10 years ago, Lucknam opened a wellness centre, and it failed? Yep, it failed. Now, I can see maybe why it failed. Lucknam was known for a very posh place where you would go to indulge in Michelin star food, pamper yourself in the spa, drink champagne by the fire. And also, 10 years ago, we were not really talking about wellness as we do now in the UK. So there was a clash, the message there. Too posh, very posh, and don't get me wrong, we can still offer that. But then a wellness centre. It was just too much, so unfortunately it closed. Now, I arrived at Lucknam 3 years ago now for an interview, and I had a very clear vision, and my vision was wellness. I knew this place had all the right ingredients for wellness. But as you can imagine, when I introduced my ideas through the interview process, well, they were received with a lot of skepticism. In fact, I was told, no, we've done wellness here before at Lucknam, and it didn't work. We are a luxury family leisure hotel, we just don't do wellness. Uh-oh. So anyway, I managed to charm them enough to get the job, but I knew that I had a tough job, and that wellness had to really redeem itself. So I got stuck in. Now, this was post-pandemic, so I had a lot of work to do, like doubling the size of the team, but the obvious place to start was the spa menu. And with my background I based the menu on the pillars of mindfulness, sleep, recovery, mental and physical well-being. So I weaved in wellness through the menu, focusing on well-being. For instance, we rescued the dry flotation that was stored away after closing the wellness centre and created a treatment called floating meditation with binaural sounds, CBD balms, and a device that tones the vagus nerve. Total success. We also incorporated more mind and body treatments, such as mindfulness massage and our sleep ritual treatment. We opened the doors for people living with cancer, and we introduced things like cryo. So we just introduced things gradually so we wouldn't overwhelm the team and also create engaging content along the way. Sorry, I wellnessed the team. Now, I know I'm using wellness here as a verb, but you have to let me do that because that's exactly what I did. I got these guys really understanding what wellness was. Wellness, the journey, wellness, well-being, the destination, and the different pillars. So what was very important to me is that this team was well. So I introduced mindfulness as a practice. We do, there's a picture here of the team, just by the lounges there. We do that every day as a minute of mindfulness. We do that just before we resume the afternoon. I also trained the therapists in empathy and compassion, and taught them coping techniques to become more resilient. And then I spread that throughout the rest of the wider hotel in the team. I then spread wellness to the hotel offering. I wanted to show that wellness did not just live in the spa space as just a second Amy, going outside the treatment rooms. I wanted people to feel wellness as soon as they drove into that magical driveway I showed you earlier. Just really feel the sense of wellness. So I introduced packages combining equine therapy with our horses. We started meditative walks in nature, cycling trails, tree planting, not only for families, but for corporate groups and obviously our guests. It also went really well with our sustainability initiatives. So in turn, we attracted obviously a new market, especially on quieter times. So that was great. That was brilliant. So some success here. Now I had to start KPIs from scratch. So what you're looking at here is how many of the hotel guests are using the spa, and we have currently an average of 83%, which is high, and then how many guests are using our services, and that is 21%. So these are all very helpful, healthy figures, but the most helpful KPI is the revenue at the bottom. So this is the total revenue of the hotel. How much of that is coming from the spa? So as you can see, it was around the 7.8%, and now I'm proud to say that we're looking at the 18% as a total coming from the spa. Oh, thank you. A little bit of a breakdown here. So just to see where we are sitting within the rest of the hotel. We actually closed February at 20%, which is very strong. I'm very proud of my team for that. Also, if you're familiar with the Pareto principle, well, this is maybe a good example of that 20% really impacting that 80%. Anyway, food for thought there. So, do they like wellness now? Well, they love it. So now I can really feel confident about introducing more wellness into the hotel, but I had to go through this process and show results, which I'm planning to do. So we are introducing more exciting treatments. We have, for instance, a sound bath vibration with the voice of the very talented Harriet Emily, who's here in the room with us today. We are introducing more wellness throughout the hotel, such as mindfulness for children. I have actually tested this on my children, and it works. So if it works for them, it works for everyone. So again, we're just aligning the hotel concept and applying our activities to that. So we also are introducing, a 7-step ritual. We recently invested in more experiences in the spa. So we have crafted a ritual where the guest is guided to use a spa with a focus on health benefits. We are now more confident to launch our retreats, tailored programs, experiences with more purpose. We are about to relaunch our restaurant, which is adjacent to the spa, so we can now look at a nutrition pillar, which I'm very excited about. So now, what are other UK operators doing? As Jongi mentioned, I am a proud board member of the UK Spa Association, and I'm happy to see a few members in the room. A show of hands, please, if you are a UK Spa Association member. Thank you. Oh, okay, so if you're not a member, why are you not a member? Come and join us. We actually have a stand in the expo area today. I'm there all afternoon, so come and say hello. So who are we? In a nutshell, we are the voice of the industry. We are a not-for-profit organisation, a lovely bunch of spa professionals that give up our time freely to support the industry that we love. We run campaigns, we organise networking events, and in fact we just had our first Scottish event this Wednesday just gone. I can see a few faces that I saw last Wednesday. And I took this golden opportunity to ask the spa operators about wellness. What are you doing about wellness? And I have some insights here to share with you. Now, firstly, this is not an official survey that we've done with all of our association members. This is me asking around, having the topic and a mini survey on the day. So this is just to give you an idea of who was in the room, which was a really nice mix of people. So as you can see, we were up in Scotland and Edinburgh, but yeah, we had a bit of everything really, which is great. So the big question, do you offer wellness? It'll be worrying if anyone said no to this, but I did get a bit of a wishy-washy answer to some extent. That's very interesting, because when I asked them about services and facilities, well, look at this. We have obviously some expected ones like treatments, but if you look at outdoor activities, spiritual activities, workshops, 70%. I mean, that's fabulous. That is actually a lot of wellness going on there, not maybe being noticed. Non-therapist treatments, that's quite high as well, 60%. So spa operators are doing great things out there. They're being more daring. They are thinking outside the box, aren't they? So if you are a spa operator and you're doing all these things, you might not be doing functional integrative medicine, cutting-edge treatments, but if you are affecting, contributing to people's well-being, then you are doing wellness. I know it's a bit of a controversy when people sort of call it wellness when it's not, but if you are contributing to people's health and well-being, just by the power of touch, just by the heat, the healing effects of the thermals and the waters, you are in wellness. Oh, thank you very much. That was quick. It felt quick. You told me to stick to 10 minutes. This is my QR code. Find me, connect. I am a sharer, so I like to hear from you. I am spending the afternoon in the UK Spa Association stand, so come and join. We need as many as you as we can to support the industry. And again, thank you very much, and wish me luck for tonight. Yay!